are about to start our class of the day, and hope you enjoyed ethics, your subject. And I think all the concept, Kassis, very good morning. What we explained or read uh, have clear to you. If you have any doubt and query, then you can ask about that. Sir, this concept is not very clear to me, then I can explain it. Now, in this class, we will first make class notes or notes for our quick revision. So, as I did, I shared multiple 4 or 5 or 3 side, or perhaps it is 3 PowerPoints slide or in the PDF form. You can actually gather more information from that source. But in class note, we will try to write some crucial point that can be used in our examination. So, but first of all, let me know, are you a new student or a regular student of this class, particular ethics class? A regular student. You have watched classes on, so what do you feel about that classes? Is it clear or need more to conceptualize the idea of ethics, or it is clear to you? Clear. Okay. Now let us start making note. But first of all, I suggest you to follow 2 or 3 different things with your notes. First of all, if you are going to make a note, then must remember a thing that note is not a kind of thing that you make on a regular basis. It is it makes once by any student or aspirant. So later, if you found any new concept or any correlated fact that are emerged, whatever your source, and from different kind of sources, like if you are browsing, then you will find that Stafford University has presented different view on different ethical aspect, and if you find that it is quite relevant and it must be presented by me in examination, so that you need to incorporate that fact in your note also. So what I said, actually, when we start making note, then we should try to leave first margin on both sides. If we left margin in our notebook, then if new concept or new kind of thing appear, then we can easily point it out over the sheet. Again, I suggest you, after making a note of a topic, then again left a page, about half or full page, to mention or write the question whatever UPSC has asked over that topic. We will later discuss on that aspect also, until we have finished. So far we have finished first chapter of ethics, that is ethics dimension, concept, etc. So when it will comprehensively covered, then we will discuss whatever question is asked so far by UPSC. So in note, you also try to write down the question of that particular topic. What is the benefit of pointing out or writing that kind of question in your answer? Is there any benefit for that, or it is just writing and filling our notebook? It makes the concept more clear, it enhances our thinking process, that we are not a scholar, we are not philosopher, we are preparing for examination. So we need to think in that direction that UPSC require. UPSC want that a student have thinking about the ethical aspect in a reference of particular society, and with the help of questions and their dimension, you can easily correlate your concept later when you uh, revise that notebook or revise that topic. So it must be followed, as you have to left margin on both side of your page. Later you have to left half or leave half or one page after writing the basic theme or point of particular topic. Okay, now let us start. Make headings. And look, one more thing, headings. Should we use headings or not? So earlier it was suggested that heading should not be used in questions and answers. Earlier it was trend till 2007, we can see. Later, when UPSC rolled out new syllabus, UPSC in uh, 2007, uh, 2007 rolled out for negative marking, and in 2014 he managed, or he gave you a new syllabus that require this kind of 20 question in particular paper, so that it become more comprehensive and more dynamic. So uh, making headings is become the generalized phenomena, and it is accepted over essay type writing pattern, so that we must incorporate heading with our answers, with our uh, notes. So we must try to highlight uh, all such point in a short headings, and then write whatever you want. It actually attract the attention of evaluator. Suppose he is in hurry, he want to check thousand of copy within a month. So it might be possible, without heading or without that kind of presentation skill, he can left your point, he cannot read your point what you made in your essay type pattern, essay type answer writing pattern. So always try to seek attention. As suppose you are a sailor, like you are working in a mall or working in a outlet of cloth, like you are working in pantaloon or that kind of shops. So what they does, actually they are highlighting their product with hanging cloth in front of consumers, but our traditional shopkeepers are failed to attract attention. So that we need to understand that one who is highlighted can be observed by viewer, observed by evaluator. So we have to incorporate such idea while writing means answers. So make first so what I said, you must draw a line on both sides of your copy and lift about 1 inches or 1.5 inches both side of your note. Thereafter, make headings like in, suppose we are writing about ethics, so headings can be drawn. Now, another thing that you must have to follow, that is spacing and order. Suppose you are writing, then you must follow the order of points. You are defining, suppose ethics, then your point should start from this way. But you are talking about some minute part or type of that thing, then you should try to try to make another point or sub point, and sub point must be some sort of gap, some distance must be left out. Later, you should always try to attract or seek attention of examiner. Like in this way, you can suppose we are writing about ethics, and if we want to write about ethics says or ethics deals with, then you can just make a heading like this: ethics deals with, deals with. And in this way you can present the salt point in your notice, like human action or cognitive action or blah blah. So in this way you can fetch optimum or desired marks. Actually, this is the part of presentation. If you have enhanced way of presentation, then without knowing or without knowing the fact deeply, you can fetch optimum marks. Even last year I was taking a interview, mock interview of some students, and a student came whose optional was geography, and I asked a question, and she didn't satisfy me with their answer. But as she presented their idea in mains examination, she ultimately become selected as deputy SP in UPPCS examination. So the way that is followed by selected candidate is actually our pathway, our roads that we have to follow, incorporate the idea that is needed. Actually, the length of answer has decreased. Earlier, UPSC wanted that you have to explain optional subject or topic of optional into about 600 words. Then you or the student at that period had enough space, enough time to deal such question, because we can easily put different kind of examples, different aspect of examples in 600 words. But what is now? Now UPSC required to answer within a limited word, just about 125 word and 150 words. So it become quite difficult. If you want to explain any kind of questions and want to correlate or put examples, then it is very much difficult to give answer in 125 words. So this kind of technique can be used in examination. And remember one thing, that UPSC just know about your knowledge or knowledge of different things. They doesn't require to have very in-depth knowledge. Suppose in-depth knowledge means a student of science background can explain global warming very well as we are explaining. But despite that fact, students are fetching good marks in science tech with having appropriate knowledge. So actually the stream or subject we are reading in school, college is quite different from this UPSC examination. UPSC is taking examination for which purpose? Why UPSC is conducting examination? Subham Jaspal, PPT sufficient for exam point of view? Is there any book to prepare? No, Subham, actually I am trying to inculcate different points from different sources. So just correlate it or whatever we learn to our society, our surroundings. this will be sufficient for our examination. So what I said, why UPSC is taking this kind of lengthy examination? Actually, they required from a student to have knowledge of history, geography, polity, and even ultimately they require knowledge of ethics. So why this kind of pattern is being taken by UPSC? Actually, they require a social man. They have good understanding about surroundings, and he know he's not perfect person, but he's an administrative person who has sufficient knowledge, ultimate, or we can say a complete knowledge. They doesn't require complete or ultimate knowledge, rather they require sufficient knowledge to be used for making decision, to be used for serving people. So what I say that you need to incorporate ethical principle or even history, geography, or whatever you are reading. UPSC always require the social dimension, the national dimension, the impact of that concept, that things. Suppose even the student of history cannot imagine that this kind of question is asked. In the first year, when this kind of pattern was implemented by UPSC, UPSC has asked why Battle of Panipat was fought at Panipat. Explain. So, in school or college, we are reading about the parties who engaged in the Battle of Panipat and the consequence of Panipat. But UPSC has asked understanding of individual, that how, why, what are the reasons behind that fight. So they actually want to have a practical knowledge of that subject. They need not to have mastery on different topics. So in this way we have to make note, we have to present our ideas. Simultaneously we will carry on mains test also. So with passing week, or I can say it would be after discussing, I will give you a date on which we will conduct a test of ethics, and it is more or less theoretical, so need not to afraid. Just memorize or remember whatever we noted or we have learned. So test will be the essential aspect of our preparation. In this test we will I will highlight whatever points should be required and all such things. So now let us start with our topic. Actually, make a heading: ethics. Ethics, and subtopic it is introduction. Introduction. Now, right, I'm taking point from this PPT also. So collected different point. PPT has different kind of different definition. So ethics definition. First short heading: definition. Ethics is a set of moral principles that guide human action in reference to their rightfulness, in reference to their rightfulness. It 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 lays down the standards that ought to be followed by individual. The term derived from Greek word ethos, means custom and way of behavior. Next point. Sometimes it loosely or ethics loosely compared with morality. Sometimes it loosely compared with morality. 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 But morality is just merely the standards of individual, while ethics deals with the whole society. Hence, or thus it is regarded as the system. Is regarded as system. Actually, it was a question. That were asked in perhaps PCS examination. So, can you explain why it is called system? Actually, when we say, suppose I'm taking example of computer. Computer is called system. Human body is called system. Our body is system. So when the term system comes, then correlate it with this thing that our human body is composed of different organ like heart, kidney, or hand, or other cells, we can say, or correlate it with that. All have different role, different function, but together, whether it is heart or kidney or other thing, together they perform the task, and the ultimate outcome of all organs of body is quite broader, quite widened from the outcome of individual organ. Suppose our our heart is filtering our blood, it providing us oxygen, or we actually emitting carbon dioxide. This kind of respiration activity is being done by heart. But heart independently cannot make decision, cannot stall or walk from one place to another place, cannot provide service to other. It is full human body. Then ultimately that ultimately produces a result. Similarly, computer, when we take example of this mouse, it has independent identity. Mouse has independent identity, but it can't work alone. Its function is quite negligible if we disconnect it from our system. So when we say ethics is a system, then it refers a collective moral value of society. Suppose a person that have different kind of moral values, like he incorporated the value of care, trust, loyalty. Different person, suppose his friend or family member incorporated the idea of dedication, honesty. Another person, for example, have incorporated idea of other values such as justice or other thing. Now all such value can actually can examined on the basis of social social perspectives. If the value of all person is required for well-being of society, then what society adopt? Society will then ultimately say that the value of a person that hold integrity or justice can also be adhere. The value of person that incorporated idea of honesty, friendship, togetherness also be adhere. But society can reject the idea of cheating, idea of disloyalty, since these are not for well-being of society. So ethical principle on that way evolved, on that way actually came into our society. So in this way we can articulate that thing. Now draw this or, because it connected to the various part, i.e. society norms. Very good, Dilip. Very good. Now it is quite difficult to make this kind of hexagonal. Repeat the last line. Last line. Hence, ethics is called a system. Hence, ethics is called system. So, need not to make this kind of pentagonal or hexagonal. You can just draw this kind of circle. Or if you feel difficulties by making this kind of diagram, then we need to overcome this difficulty as soon as possible. Just make a headings. Is ethics is a study of. Ethics is a study of human action. First of all, start with human actions, voluntary behavior, or we can make it shorter, human action. Human action. Human action. Action. Right and responsibility. Principles of right conduct, moral value, and philosophy of ideals. Philosophy of ideals. Ideals. There are multiple ways that can be used in examination. Examination. So, philosophy, human action, right and responsibility, principle of right conduct, moral value and choice, philosophy of ideals. Ideals. Do you think Amitabh Bachchan is our hero, or can we make him our ideal, or our that kind of moral, or we can say our uh, our symbol of inspiration? No, actually, he did not. Actually, I don't know about their well-being or social support or services. But as far as I know, he mostly indulged in making money. Without money, he can do nothing. So we can't make that kind of person our ideals. Rather, we have to different perception can be. So in this way, we can present. Look, actually, in examination, you have limited time. It is about 3 hours. And memorizing this kind of chart or diagram is not easy. It is quite difficult. So with this, we can just highlight the core thing of that and try to, if this 5 or 6 point is not included in our answer, so need not to worry. We can make another point that is related or correlated with it. So you can left a point also if you are not remembering that point, so it doesn't matter. You can go with 3 or 4 or 5 point. Actually, I have that kind of experience in examination. I forget a name of a thinker who propounded the main idea or principle. After examination ended, later I memorize the name of that thinker. But it doesn't matter. I have pointed out. Now make a short heading. Ethics is not. Ethics is not. Not. Ethics is not. Short heading, or we can under correlate it. Ethics is not the study of. Ethics is not. And you can make this type of point also. This type of point also. Try to use different chart, different diagram. Actually, this avoid monotony. If you follow the same pattern everywhere, then it leads to monotony, or we can say it distract the examiner that the student is doing the same pattern everywhere. Ethics is not law. Is it required to explain it, or you understood that why ethics is not called law? Actually, sometimes law goes on with ethical principle, sometimes it doesn't. As we have example of Rowlatt Act, again religion, sometimes both are coincided, but sometimes both are opposite to each other. Individual morality, we can cut this point. Situation or relative. The ethics of one society can be different from another society. American people, even for example, I am quoting example of Constitution of America. You know that American Constitution has endowed the right to hold arms to the citizen of US. But in spite of that, we left that right, and we didn't provided this kind of right to citizen of India. So there is difference. Why this kind of difference occurred? Have anyone any explanation why Indian constitution maker left the idea to not to take right to hold arms to their citizens? Yes, please. Oh, very good. Gandhian principle is relevant for this. Any other thing? Any other thing? Actually, if we compare the size and population of America, then we found that America is a very vast country, but they have limited number of people. In contrast to that, though we have a vast country, we are a vast country, but we have sufficient number of people. And our makers of constitution felt that the maintenance of law and order is the duty of a state, so no citizen need to carry that kind of deadly weapon. Government will secure their safety and security very well. It is a responsibility of a state. In contrast to that, as being very vast and less populated state, US has at that time during 1778 or 1779, when their constitution were commenced. So at that time, administrative machinery were not sufficient to handle all kind of issues, so that this kind of right what we have now. Make another point, that is scope of ethics, and just list about it. First of all, explain a line. What is a scope? Heading: a scope of ethics. A scope. It implies the limitation or extent of ethics. It implies the limitation or extent of ethics. It implies the limitation or extent of ethics. Limitation or extent. Suppose if I draw a map of India like this, so this is the limitation of the authority of government, and also it is the extent of government jurisdiction. So both are coincided. It includes. Now list the point. Next, after writing limitation and extent, write it includes, and after writing it includes, mention all such points as a list. First, international issue. International issue. In bracket, you can write migration. International issue like migration. War. Colonization. Or we can say imperialism. Colonization. Again, we can use the term expansionism or expansionism. Both are expansionism. Vistarvad or expansionism. Bracket close. Legal matter. In bracket, highlight right, duties, authority, jurisdiction. Again, political, or we can include here political affairs. Participation. Political affairs, participation. Suppose a political system denied to incorporate particular section of society, then it would be the subject of ethics. Why? why that political system has denied. For example, Aristotle denied that women, farmers, merchant shall be the right of citizen. Why he held such kind of perception? Why he denied to give him citizenship? As per Aristotle, citizens are those person who is taking active participation in political affairs, and these are the person who don't have enough intellectual ability, rationality to take participation in political affairs. So he quoted that kind of principles. He advocated for that thing, political affairs. And first example is participation. Second example, second point, affirmative action. Affirmative action. Affirmative action. Action. Nationalism. Nationalism. Regionalism. Nationalism. Regionalism. Do you think nationalism and regionalism are opposite to each other, or there are some kind of interrelation between both? Should we control the spirit of regionalism and promote a spirit of nationalism, or should we maintain that we are following? Means both can go ahead, or some kind of thing can be suppressed. Regionalism is good for not, good or bad? I'm asking about that. What is your perception? Regionalism is good or bad? Can it go with nationalism or not? Actually, this subject is kind of debate and discussion. So we need to examine every aspect of different topic. If it comes, suppose we are talking about nationalism, both should be maintained, sir. It should go on hand. Yes. Both are coincided. Actually, the difference, actually there is another word that is called separatism. So when we say regionalism with nationalism, then it represents the idea that people are attached with their place, their state, but also they are they are obligated, they are following the rule or a spirit of nationalism, togetherness with total all over the country. But if regionalism become aggressive, become violent, then it shaped or take shape of separatism, and they then urge that we need to have a different country, different region for our society, for our people. And in that case, it is opposite to nationalism. So both are coincided. Regionalism satisfy actually the need of local people. Suppose Tamils provocated for regionalism, regional language, they are promoting regional language. In this way, they are protecting their culture, their society. But at the same time, they are also taking participation in national affairs. They, you don't find that they urge that we need a different country, different territory, but they are very happy to live with us. So regional spirit can fulfill the requirement, the demand and aspiration of local people. And nationalism actually collect the aspiration of all region. And in this way, both can, in family, you can correlate with in the family also. Even your mother aspiration, your father aspiration, your brother aspiration can be different, but all lives together. So this is kind of nationalism. What we thought, what we follow, it might be possible that all are different, all will be different, but they chosen to live together. It is nationalism. No, actually, Abhay Rathi said here, highlighted that regionalism is bad as it leads to clash between different regions. Suppose what Raj Thackeray did in Maharashtra. He called for uh, called for uh, called for कुछ ऐसा कहा था उसने कि नॉर्थ इंडियंस को भगाओ. So that kind of slogan was Raj Thackeray called for remove outsider from our place. So this kind of political agenda or action we heard, but it is not a generalized perception. It is actually used by some political party for name and fame. They want to be in news. Suppose Nepal. We very well know that Nepalis are socially bounded with us. It is said that there is a relation like roti and beti from between India and Nepal. But despite that, politicians of Nepal is uh, is is highlighting or highlighting the fact that Indian interest and Nepal's interest are not coincided, rather both are opposite, both are different. So nationalism and regionalism is actually the part of a larger society. If one oppose nationalism, then it goes beyond the spirit, goes against the spirit of that settlement. It held as a wrong act. So that whenever this kind of regional issue appears, uh, so you have noted this point. Now, the scope of ethics. Make another point in the line of that you have noted. Yugoslavia got disintegrated. Dilip here highlighted that best example he quoted that Yugoslavia. Have you heard about that? Yugoslavia, once a larger, vast country of Europe, Eastern Europe, located just east to Italy. At present, nowhere we found in the world map that Yugoslavia exists. What happened? Yugoslavia was disintegrated and divided into different country. It was because of regional spirit. But why India is not divided till date? We have multilingual society. We have a very diverse regional or we can say physiological features. Some part of India is mountainous, some part of India is plains, and others are coastals. So different variety of life exists here. Despite having this kind of variation and regional spirit, we are intact. So actually there is a term called balance, balance or equilibrium. So in in our country, we maintained the balance between regional spirit and national spirit. We admired the demand of local people to have a state on the basis of language, as we did during 1956 or 53, that we installed a new, we made a new state that is called Andhra Pradesh, and we satisfied the rational demand of the people of Andhra Pradesh. So there must be a way that can steer the life, that can steer the family. Suppose, for example, actually we need to understand that this kind of fact very clearly, that if husband and wife both can have different ethical principle, different attitude toward different kind of thing, but they decided to live together. But where dispute occurs, what ultimate or what is the outcome of that dispute? In a very worst case, we heard that family are broken. Family is broken by divorce. So divorce is the part of that resolution. If amicable resolution is not possible in any society, any country, then it ultimately leads to divorce. But in our nationalism, or what we did, we incorporated a different idea, and we appreciated their demand. We tried to fulfill the demand of different part of country, and that is why when regional aspiration gets fulfilled, they accepted the idea of nationalism. So we have to a way of life that must incorporates diversity in our society. Is it clear how we manage to have this kind of setup? Regionalism, nationalism, both can be go side by side if there is a mutual understanding, if there is a balance that can handle both aspiration. Now, make a last point of that scope. Emerging, yes, Dilip, issues, emerging issues like artificial intelligence. Robot is better than human. The conception, artificial intelligence, OTT, content, social media, role of social media, gene engineering or editing, should we manipulate the natural genetic code or not? This kind of thing is part of ethics. So ethics deals with such content also. Now, next part, we just covered all part of this. Now, again, make a separate point and just highlight the theme of this: nature of ethics. Nature of ethics. Actually, what I did, I incorporated most of the thing in slide, and with notes we can easily memorize our slides. Nature of ethics, and make first point: exist in all human society. Need not to make a full sentence, just highlight. Even in examination you can make that kind of point. So it is not be admitted as you violated discipline or language, exclusively related to human beings. Again, not static, rather, next point, not static, rather changes with changing time. Second point, exclusively related with human beings. And third point, not static, rather changes with changing time. Some principles are universal. Some principles are universal. Bracket में, in bracket you can quote example like justice, liberty, equality, Some principles are universal in nature. And last point, normative and practical science. Normative and practical science. Normative and practical science. Normative and practical science. Now, these are the determinants of ethics. Next point, determinants of ethics. In bracket, you can mention the factor decides ethical. The factor decides ethical principles called determinants of ethics. Determinants of ethics. Now just draw a flow chart like this. Determinants and bifurcate it into two lines. The first point based on action and second point based on source. Action and source. And in the source, just point out different list, make a list like society, constitution, law. Law and constitution are both same or is it a different thing? Law are made by government or executive. Executive also makes rule regulation, but constitution is the supreme law that decides the nature and authority of that body who is going to make law. Constitution, society, law, and again we can take from here religion, family and society, and last one, conscience. And on the basis of action, we can make three head. The first is object or instrument, what we are using during our course of action. Suppose we want to fight a battle, then we have different kind of weapons. The first one is use sword or spear. Earlier it was used. Now it is a gun, machine gun, etc. And the another way is what is peaceful protest. So it is the another way that teaches us to use non-violence mean while urging or demanding for something, object. And in this bracket, you can write proceedings of action or instrument that you are using. And here, thereafter, context and intention. Context and intention. Context and intention. If intention is good, then whatever the consequence can be held good. Suppose one person is, suppose you are visiting, you went a railway station where a policeman has found beating a person or slapped a person, then you curiously ask the person why police is beating that person. Then one, if say that the person who has been beaten by police was earlier jumped on a rail track and he actually attempted to suicide by standing in front of that train, and he is doing his duty, that he is protecting a person from committing suicide. So in that purpose, if a policeman is doing that kind of act, the motive of that person must be considered while taking ethical or while making judgment about him. He is doing right or wrong. You can actually take reference from this, that how society and law or other thing play crucial role in development of ethics. What we noted here, so in the reference we can check all such thing. Note must be quite simple or quite easy to memorize that aspect. Need not to write all such thing. Now, last one, consequences of ethics. Consequences of ethics. Consequences for ethics. First one, prescribe standards of right and wrong. What is the benefit of having a standard of right and wrong? If one say that you have to walk on left side of the road, so why should follow this kind of rule? If suppose we are Amitabh Bachchan and we want to walk on the middle of the road, then what would be the consequence? Accident is the result. So it prescribe us orderly behavior. If we aware with the right thing, then our course of action will go into the right direction. Improves thinking, perspective and judgment. Consequence, improve thinking, judgment. Helpful in moral dilemma. What is dilemma? If when person having two kind of when in a situation person having two same kind of values and he confused to opt or give importance to one value, it is called dilemma. When corona appeared, government was totally confused how to handle this adversity. We should we protect economy or should we protect life? Then ethics said that life is quite important than. So in this case, makes society better. Makes society better. And last one, helps in exercising discretionary power. What is discretionary power? Discretion is there in our constitution. This word is mentioned or not? In which article? The only article that where the word in discretion is mentioned, it is article 163. It is 163, where has uh, governor have some discretionary power. Our president have no such kind of power. Discretionary power are those kind of power that has been used by a person or holder with their reasons, with their perception, with their assumption about the situation, about the circumstances. He is not bounded or obligated to anyone or anybody. He need to have different kind of course of action to deal that situation. It is called discretionary power. If in your family everybody have some kind of discretionary power, depends upon situation. Suppose you are in family and your parent says that you are free to choose your career, in which field you want to pursue your career, I will fund or we will fund. Then it is your discretion, it is your choice to choose whichever field, whatever field you want. Suppose for same kind of example, then in case your parents give you pocket money, then you are free to use that money whatever you want to purchase or not. But when they provide you 100 rupees to purchase vegetable, in that case it must be spent in the buying of vegetable. So discretionary power is everywhere in our society. If we use our discretionary power with ethical principle, then it makes it more fruitful, more uh, more suitable. Now, the list of absence of ethics is mentioned in slide. We just mentioned 2 or 5 points in our notebook. Absence of ethics leads to devastation, as absence of power leads to devastation as domestic violence, corruption, drug addiction, drug addiction, addiction, abuse of power, abuse of power, power. I think you will aware about the term that is reasonable restriction, and the second one of Article 22 is reasonable restriction is mentioned under Article 19, and Article 22 have different kind of provision that is called. Anyone have idea about? Uh, Recall the name. Let me memorize that name. Actually, it is a quite different name. How they exercise a reasonable restriction, and it is preventive detention. Have you heard about preventive detention? So preventive detention makes a administrator provide administrator power to arrest anybody on the basis of suspicion for the period of 3 months. So if he want to abuse his power against the person who he believes that his anti-party or his the man who can disturb his family or his society, then it can be said as he used for own purpose, not for social purpose. If a person found to be a disturbed element that have potential to disturb society, then he can using this power, and it will call he used the power in the ethical manner. But for personal interest, if someone tried to arrest a person, an innocent person, in that case, on the name of that preventive detention, then it will be called abuse of power. So it become quite frequent, abuse of power. Have you heard the name of Paramveer Singh? Paramveer Singh. Paramveer Singh was last posted at the post of Director General of Police, Maharashtra, and now he is actually a fugitive. He is fugitive means bhagora, भागा हुआ है वो. So why this kind of thing happened? Because he indulged into the business of abuse of power. He abused his power to seek ransom money to terrorize peoples and politicians, so that he has to face that kind of consequences. Now, drug trafficking, drug or human trafficking, and last one, depletion of natural resources. We can just highlight this kind of consequence can be happen if ethics, if there is absence of ethics prevail in society. And now we concluded first class, that was depletion of natural resources. All have noted, and slide is also available, so you can manage this with a slide. We will take, now I am going to open another slide and we will take some points from that slide. Actually, our notes now become a sort, or we can say become a gist of that slide. So we can easily memorize all such thing with our notes. With our notes. So now make a headings, that is dimension of ethics. Dimension of ethics. Ethics. Dimension of ethics. Dimension of ethics. Dimension of ethics. 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 Just for definition, we can write. It implies different branches or school of ethics. It implies different branches or school of ethics. Ethics. There are following 4 principal branches. Principal branches of ethics, namely descriptive ethics, second one normative ethics, third one meta ethics, and the fourth one applied ethics. Normative ethics, meta ethics, and applied ethics. Applied ethics. Now, make separate heading for descriptive ethics. Descriptive ethics. Descriptive ethics. Write down it describe and explains. It describe and explain. Describe and explain the moral and ethical practices and standards of a particular society in reference to circumstances. Next point, Lawrence Kohlberg has given credit for development of this branch. For the development of this branch. Now make a short heading. For example, it deals deals is not suitable. Use it is as for example. It is as for example. Below you can write Mahabharata, virtue of Mahabharata. Virtue of Mahabharata. Ramayana ethical principles. So in this way we can correlate it with some examples. Whatever Ramayana or Mahabharata teaches us is actually explaining the ethical behavior that has been initiated during that period of time. Now, normative ethics. It is quite broader and quite lengthier, so that we need to make first a flow chart. Thereafter we will write the other part of this. So we just make a flow chart heading normative ethics. Normative ethics. So normative ethics can divided into three different branch broadly. First one is called hedonism. First one is called hedonism. Second one is called ethical. Second one is called sorry. Sorry. No, it is correct. Second one is called no. Need to hedonism. Now virtue, meta, and last one deontological. Deontological, teleological, and another is uh, we can virtue ethics, teleological ethics. Hedonism is part of teleological. Virtue ethics, virtue, teleological, teleological, and third one is deontological. So we have three branches of normative ethics. In teleological, we have 5 branches. We have 5 branches. First one, hedonism. Hedonism. Second one, ethical egoism. Ethical egoism. Third one, utilitarianism. 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 And fourth one is altruism. 4 branch actually. Altruism. 4 branch. So we need to keep in mind that altruism, and last one deontological. Hedonism, ethical egoism, utilitarianism, and altruism. Utilitarianism. Utilitarian have 2 different part. That is, first one, act utilitarian, was given by whom? Act utilitarian, Jeremy Bentham. And second one is called rule utilitarian. Rule utilitarian. Rule utilitarian. So, keeping this chart in mind, now we can proceed to our normative ethics. Now, normative ethics. So, normative ethics. Normative ethics. And right first point that it prescribes the ethical standards and principles ought to be followed. Ought to be followed. Followed. uh, it is further classified into it is further classified into the first part virtue ethics. Virtue ethics. Make a short point for it. Virtue ethics. Virtue ethics. It prescribes prescribes the set of standard virtue that should be be imparted means साथ में उसको मिलाना. Imparted by an individual Western modern thinker. Now next point, Western modern thinker have propounded following virtues. Now in Western category, first Socrates said or dash, right knowledge leads to right action. So in this reference, we can support, as you know, the delay in judgment, particularly in Supreme Court, has become a general phenomenon. Cases are pending for the period of 5 to 10 years. Usually, you find that cases are pending for years to years. Why they are pending? Because judges want to have knowledge about everything that is related with that particular incident. So no innocent should have injustice if some kind of incident or some kind of information will not receives. Second point, Plato advocated for virtue. Just mention the name. That is wisdom, means knowledge. First, wisdom. Second, fortitude. We can in bracket write courage. Fortitude. Third one, temperance. Self-control. The same term, temperance, self-control, or perseverance. Perseverance is also used instead of this. And last one, justice. So just memorize this 4 principle. Besides that, we have sufficient PowerPoint material so that we can, if we forget any fact, then we can. Now, next thing, justice. Aristotle. Aristotle considered justice as paramount or apex or superior, whatever you want to write, virtue, need not to write, and suggested for middle path, golden means, middle path for golden means. This is the core principle given by Aristotle. Everywhere we have to follow middle path. Even while answering a question in mains examination, you must have to avoid extremes. That government should follow that kind of principles. And last one, this is called passing reference. What we are doing here, this is the way you can provide passing reference to your examiner, that Aristotle said that justice must be prevail. And last line, Benjamin Franklin propagated 13 virtue for a true universal man. 13 virtue for a true universal man. That's it. 13 virtue for a true universal man. So these are basic things that we have to. Now you can read more about that with your PPT. PPT is for broader or comprehensive. We can use it as note, but class note is gist, and we have to just memorize whatever we are writing or explaining. Now, I'm going to conclude this class. If you have any doubt, query, suggestion, then you can put forth or urge. So in the next class, we will cover remaining 1 or 2 lessons, and thereafter we will move toward human values.